And with that, welcome to today's video. It's called Bad Days and it's about IwaOi with little hints of Oisuga. You'll see why. And today's video is a bit more of a fanfiction. So apologies if the writing is not perfect. I just tried to get it all out there. And now I hope you enjoy. One more quick note before we get started. If you struggle with panic attacks or the topic of it is triggering to you, maybe do not watch this video. Panic attacks itself will not get specifically mentioned, but I still think it might not be the best one for you. If you still want to watch it, enjoy. Have you ever had struggles finding good Haikyuu merch or anime merch in general? Because I for sure did. It can be hard. But this shop offers amazing merch. Like, I'm literally obsessed with the Haikyuu merch. They have the cutest hoodies ever. Now, if you want to get 10% off, click the link in the description. They offer me a collaboration, which is literally amazing. And you support my channel this way. So, win-win. Let's go. Let the cold numb your pain and freeze your tears. Oikawa woke up, drenched in cold sweat. His chest heaved, his lungs expanding, yet it felt as though he was suffocating. The air reached into the depths of his being, but as though his mind has been disconnected from his body, he didn't feel relief. Everything hurt. He was in physical pain, and all he wanted to do was cry out for help as he choked on his tears. But he didn't. He didn't because some tiny part of him knew that it wasn't real. It felt real. His heart pounding against his ribs as though he had just sprinted up a hill, the air cutting into his throat, his muscles aching, and his blood boiling within every inch of his body, hot like magma. He felt as though he was dying, and the panic clouded his mind as everything within him screamed for him to move. He did the opposite. Pathetically, he curled himself up into a small ball, freezing on the spot as he waited for the tremors to subside. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to hurt. He wanted to scream. It hurt. He was afraid. It hurt. He gasped for air again and again and again. Somewhere in his twisted mind there were solutions, strategies on how to handle this, but it all seemed out of reach, just barely at the edge of his consciousness, mere millimeters too far away when he stretched out. All he could do was wait and chant that it wasn't real, over and over again in his mind, in hopes he might eventually convince himself, his traitorous body, of a reality utterly too far away. When he did calm down, it was the exhaustion rather than the absence or subsiding presence of stress. How could it not? His brain vividly imitated physical pain, leaving him in a frenzy, panicked, afraid that he might not be able to play well anymore. It was an all-consuming fear his mind didn't let him forget about. It was always lurking just under the surface, waiting for the shadows to grow dark enough, for it was light and warmth to coax him into letting his guard down, until it was fading in the cold nights and left the room to attack. Just now, his very own source of light and warmth lay on the bed next to him, deeply wrapped in his own dreams, much more pleasant ones he hoped. Yet, he too seemed out of reach. All Oikawa had to do was open his hand and stretch his fingers a tiny bit, and he would be able to feel him, his warmth, but he didn't. It was as though there lay worlds between them instead of mere centimeters. Oceans of dread separated them with their vicious depth, too dark to cross. He gulped, internally thinking whatever deity kept the other asleep and safe from the night terrors haunting his own mind. It took a few more minutes, but upon realizing that by staying he risked getting caught by him, he forced his sore muscles to move. Rest be damned. In this state, he wouldn't get it anyway. It was cold inside the apartment. Or was it? Maybe it was just his mind playing tricks on him. Was he still tired? Numb, he embraced the, to him, freezing air, allowing the chills to ripple through his body and slowly sink into his bones, numbing whatever pain and sensations were left. It wasn't enough. A certain itch persisted, and he felt a distinct desire of clawing at its skin, ripping off whatever it was that was bothering him, and causing a deep unease inhabiting every fiber of his being. He hated this. Everything felt wrong, too tight and too loose, too wrong. It was too faint, not strong enough to grasp, yet it hurt and invaded his mind as though it had struck right through him, digging itself into his very core. Frustrated, he ripped the doors to the balcony open. Immediately, a cold much more fierce and vicious than the chilly air inside embraced him. It burned on the skin as though he had been pushed from one fire into the other, yet this one was of a different kind. Stronger, it took his senses much faster as his body slowly grew accustomed to its vicious licks, coaxing his arms and legs. In mere minutes, the blades in the air dulled, and even though his body started to shiver violently, he barely noticed. The cold offered the contrast he needed to soothe the burning within. He relished in the sudden comfort it brought simply by creating the absence of that horrible itch, by giving his body something else to focus on, something stronger it couldn't ignore. He traced the soft, intricate patterns painted by flowers of rime on the ground. It decorated the grayish metal and climbed up the wall behind him, as well as the flimsy metal railing made from thin bars. The weird disconnect between body and mind returned, but this time he embraced it. He fell into a world of cold, observing the rime flowers. It was the complete opposite of the raging fire from before, and he willingly gave up control if that meant he didn't need to return. Let the cold numb your pain and freeze your tears. In some distance, the sky turned faintly pink, the first sign of the nearing sunrise, and Toto watched it with a distant fascination. He was sure that some part of him could, or maybe even did, appreciate the beauty of it in the past, but that part was sealed off just like the rest. As he looked at it now, he reveled in the absence of it all. A small sound broke him out of his stupor. He hadn't even realized that he still had his phone on him when he saw the notification on the screen. A reminder that he wanted to meet with Suga today. Suga. He wouldn't be happy if he could see him right now. Faintly the guilt returned, the pain and all of his attachments waiting just outside the peaceful veil he had created in his mind threatened to burst through, and without even thinking about it, he threw his phone inside. He didn't want to return. It hurt. He didn't want to be hurt. Slowly, his breathing calmed again, his gaze returning to the rime flowers as he wrapped his brain in layers of blissful ignorance. Let the cold numb your pain and freeze your tears. Iwaizumi awoke with a grumble. The bed next to him was empty, and he missed the heat that usually radiated from his boyfriend as a chill ran through his system. Why was it so fucking cold? He tried turning around again, already planning on scolding Oikawa once he returned from probably his morning run. He shouldn't overexhaust himself like that, and even worse, he shouldn't steal his heater. He was on his best way to ignoring the cold breeze when the annoying ringtone of Oikawa's phone broke the silence. He wished so desperately to just throw that stupid thing out of the window, but to his surprise, it wasn't anywhere near him. His sleep-drunken brain took a moment to process the information before he dragged himself out of bed with a whine. On his way to the hallway, it slowly sank in that Oikawa's phone shouldn't be here at all if he was on a run. More so, the breeze attacking him could by no means be just the result of the badly isolated apartment. And why the heck was the phone on his floor? Where was he? Iwaizumi was full on prepared to chew him out for answers when his eyes fell on the caller's ID. Sugawara. For a moment he calmed down, looking at the time. It truly was really late already. He hadn't thought he slept for that long. There was a good chance he was on his date with Suga already. But then, why would the teacher call him? He tried connecting the dots, but without much success. It didn't make sense. The persistent ringing got him out of his head, and he finally accepted. Hello? Iwaizumi? Suga sounded a bit nervous, distressed perhaps. Yeah. The moment of silence stretched between them. It was still a bit awkward ever since he and Kawa started dating. They were giving it a shot and saw where it went. Do you know where Toro is? I've been trying to reach him, but he wouldn't answer the phone. We wanted to meet today, remember? Iwaizumi hummed in confirmation. Yeah, well, he's late, so I got kinda worried. But if something came up, I of course understand. He's not with you? He could feel his thoughts flowing slowly like a tenacious mass, utterly too slow as he tried to force himself to wake up. No, why would I have called otherwise? Yes, why would he? It made no sense. Nothing made sense right now. Where was Toro? On a run? Iwaizumi? No, it was too late for that by now. Why hadn't he had his phone with him? Iwaizumi? Yes? What is going on? Where's Toro? He walked around the flat while talking, searching for the setter. I don't know. His voice was calm, yet there was an underlying tension slowly breaking through the stupor of sleep. Did something happen? Toro? He spotted him along with the source for the biting cold in the air. The balcony door was wide open and in front sat the tall setter against the morning light. What the fuck are you doing there? Annoyance mixed in his tone, almost forgetting about Suga as his worry turned to anger. It was only for a moment though, as he got no reply and Oikawa remained frozen. Toru! He walked up to him, the shivers becoming more violent towards the door, yet Oikawa was oddly still. Occasional tremors ran through his system, yet he made no attempt to get inside, or looked as though he even noticed. Toru. When he was finally able to face him, his breath got stuck in his throat. The taller's eyes were glassy, the tips of his ears and nose completely red, and his lips the shade of an icy blue. He had this last look in his eyes Iwa knew already. A string of curses left his lips. I'll call you back, Suga. What? He hung up and put the phone carelessly somewhere on the counter, not having the capacity to feel sorry right now, before firmly grabbing onto Oikawa and dragging him inside to the couch. Shit! Idiot! He heaved him onto the couch and closed the door with force, before gathering blankets and turning up the heater. He was about to simply wrap him in a blanket cocoon when he remembered that could cause shock. Always warm the core first. He took a deep, calming breath, reciting the several first aid classes he had to take throughout his education in his head. Warm the injured, but not too quickly. Focus on his body core first, and get any wet clothes off of them. He gently placed the blanket around Oikawa's chest and abdomen, then waited for a bit, checking his breathing, before carefully spreading another blanket on top, covering him whole. He was awake. His gaze didn't meet Iwa's, and he seemed almost apathetic, but he was awake. The former ace waited patiently by his side, never letting his vitals out of sight for even a second while waiting for something to change. Hajime. Slowly, the warm brown of Oikawa's eyes met his. They had always been so expressive, and even now Iwa could see all the little nuances, the pain and confusion, perhaps even something like disappointment in them. Hey. Asada tried to move, but whether it were the blankets or he was simply too weak right now, he barely managed to lift his hand. Iwaizumi took it without hesitation. He pulled it up to his face and kissed it gently. A moment of silence filled the room as Oikawa slowly found his way back into reality, while Iwaizumi just waited. Why didn't you wake me up? Oikawa didn't need to ask what he meant, just like Iwaizumi didn't need to ask what happened. They knew, or at least, they had a very good idea. He shrugged his shoulders. Iwaizumi sighed and helped him sit up so that he could pull him into his arms. No words were exchanged as Oikawa held onto him with a scary little strength, and yet a desperate hunger for comfort. They could talk later, for now this was what he needed, and Iwaizumi was happy to provide just that. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay. I'm here. It's okay. A whimper escaped Oikawa's throat. Immediately, Iwaizumi pulled him tighter and started to soothingly rub his back. It's okay. Suddenly, the calm atmosphere was torn by the sound of the doorbell, and Oikawa flinched in his arms. Iwaizumi separated them slowly and got up to open the door. He shouldn't be surprised to see Suga there, but he was. He had forgotten about the other in all his chaos. The silver-haired was out of breath and looked like he had suffered a bit of frostbite himself, probably from waiting for Oikawa for so long. Is he alright? He's fine, more or less. Come inside first. He knew Oikawa probably didn't want Suga to see him like this, but he could hardly send him away in this condition either. Just, please, take it slow. Their eyes met, and he knew that Suga understood. The former setter was incredibly vigilant, and he had rarely come across someone who could compare to his emotional intelligence. He's in the living room. I'll make us tea. Suga nodded and made his way inside. When Iwaizumi returned with the cups, Oikawa's head rested in Suga's lap and the other played absent-mindedly with his hair. They'd have to talk eventually, but not now. Thank you for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was less plot and more feelings, which all of my fanfictions always end up like this. There is another one coming up very soon. I wasn't so well for a while, but now I'm much better. And the result is good fanfic, so I don't care. Yeah, timeline-wise, this is somewhere between The Love We Can Share and the Drunk series. I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a wonderful and amazing day.